Hi, this is Kirby Sommers, and I welcome you to the Epstein Project podcast. Wow, there's so much going on with the Ghislaine Maxwell case and Prince Andrew that I thought I would bring you guys up to date with what's going on. So please like the video, subscribe, because I typically forget to do this at the end of the show. Okay, so Ghislaine Maxwell has compared herself to Hannibal Lecter, which I think is the dumbest thing that you could do because now we're going to sort of compare her to Hannibal Lecter, which is not a bad comparison in my opinion. But in any event, there was a pretrial hearing on November 2nd, and when a prisoner is driven to court, the prisoner is always put in restraints. This happens to everyone. She made it particularly dramatic by stating that she had to crawl into the van. Well, she's a short person. It's my understanding that she's 5 feet 4 inches tall and perhaps shorter now that she's almost 60 years old. You get older as you become, I'm sorry, you become shorter as you become older. And that she had to climb using her hands and knees. Well, that's what happens with other prisoners. Um, but they made a very big spectacle about this, and now they are asking for Ghislaine Maxwell to be allowed out of prison for bail, not for the first time, not for the second time, not for the third time, not for the fourth time, not for the fifth time, but for number six. Number six, she is trying for the sixth time to be released from jail. So I'm going to read some of the highlights, I'm going to call them, from Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, Bobby Sternheim, dated November 3rd, 2021, to Judge Nathan. So she says, Dear Judge Nathan, I write to once again ask the court to release Ghislaine Maxwell prior to trial on the conditions set forth in her previous bail applications. My weekly in person legal visits with Miss Maxwell are conducted under the most humiliating circumstances that I have ever experienced in many decades of fighting criminal practice. As disturbing and invasive as they are, for no justifiable reason, I get to leave. Miss Maxwell does not. The surveillance rivals scenes of Dr. Hannibal Lecter's incarceration. I'm sorry. I just find this so crazy. I'm going to start that sentence again. The surveillance rivals scenes of Dr. Hannibal Lecter's incarceration, as portrayed in the movie Silence of the Lambs, despite the absence of the cage and plastic face guard. Miss Maxwell's condition of detention for the past 16 months continue to be reprehensible and utterly inappropriate for, she misspelled, she forgot a word, for a woman. I'm going to help her out here on the cusp of turning 60 with no criminal record or history of violence. It is unwarranted, unrelenting, and utterly inappropriate. So she goes on and she says that Ghislaine is being subjected to physical and emotional abuse by the correction officers, that she is living in poor and unsanitary living conditions, that she has insufficient nutrition, that she has difficulty reviewing the millions of legal discovery documents in the case against her, and that she is sleep deprived. She talks about the fact that she has been consistently housed in segregation from all other inmates. So I want to just pause here and tell you what that means. Ghislaine Maxwell, during a time when some prisons in New York City have been closed because of COVID, and they had to move prisoners into other prisons, such as the Metropolitan Detention Center, where Ghislaine is in Brooklyn. So it means that it's an overcrowded jail. Well, despite the fact that it's overcrowded, the Department of Prisons, the Bureau of Prisons, has bent over backwards, gave her an entire floor. So she has the entire second floor to herself. But somehow, this is not good for Ghislaine. The entire second floor of the jail means that she has a private bathroom, means that she's relatively uh, unscathed by comments and uh, pretty much taunting, because if you're in jail for the alleged crime of having abused minors, you are treated like the scum of the earth by other prisoners. She's being protected from that and other things. And so this is in Bobby Sternheim's letter to the judge, that she has been kept away from the general population as if that were a quote bad thing. And in my opinion, and I would think in your opinion, it's not a bad thing. So anyway, I'm going to continue. Uh, they complain that there are cameras on her constantly. Most are stationary, but one camera follows her as she moves throughout the facility. Once again, I'm going to pause. As she moves throughout the facility. So she has the ability, from another court document, to leave her cell for the duration of the day. She only has to be inside her cell at night while she sleeps. So the fact that they're turning even the advantages that have been extended to Ghislaine Maxwell for reasons that are perplexing to most of the world, because I don't think most of the world understands all of the advantages that Ghislaine Maxwell has. But you know what? Because I just said that, I am going to read to you some of the advantages that Ghislaine Maxwell has that other people do not have. So I've already stated that she has the entire second floor to herself. She also has access to 2 desktop computers, to a laptop computer. She has the ability to send and receive emails. She is permitted out of her cell from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening every day. While in the day room, she has exclusive use of a desktop computer, a laptop, a television, and a phone to call anyone she wants, as well as a private bathroom. She has more time than other inmates to communicate with her attorneys. She receives 5 hours of video teleconference calls with her attorneys every single day. I don't believe any other inmate in jail has that ability to prepare for their trial with 5 hours of video conference calls with their attorneys on a daily basis. But her attorneys are claiming that she does not have the ability to properly prepare for her trial. Um, she is allowed to meet with her attorneys in person. This is important because we're in the period of COVID. And so she has been in jail, if you recall, commencing July 2nd, 2020. So for a period of 16 months. At that time, no attorneys were being allowed in jail for anyone. The only person that was extended that privilege was Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, the Bureau of Prisons has bent over backwards, changing the rules and giving Ghislaine Maxwell privileges that are not afforded to other prisoners. So she is allowed to meet with her attorneys in person and has been allowed to do that from the very beginning. Um, Additionally, she complained about the HEPA filters in the room where she meets with her attorneys. What did the prison do? They changed out the filter to improve the air quality. This is unheard of. I don't know of any other prisoner who can turn around and complain that the air quality is poor and the jail, the Department of the Bureau of Prisons turns around and changes the air filter. That's unheard of. But somehow this is still not enough for Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, she is the sole inmate on the entire second floor of the prison. And in the very beginning, and where people were still not getting their COVID shots, Ghislaine Maxwell received the first COVID shot in her prison. Like, come on, before any of the other um uh inmates. It's just still startling to me that she continues to complain. However, it's a strategy. She has complained from the very beginning, and it's a strategy that is being used now because, as you will see by my reading portions of this letter, these are now being formulated in such a way as to suggest that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be unable to attend her court, her own, the case. She's going to be too frail. She's going to be too tired. She has to be released on bail. She can't sleep. I want to point out a few things here. Um, so she's now claiming, on top of everything else, that she is being touched sexually inappropriate by corrections officers on multiple occasions. She claims that she declines recreation time to avoid being searched, and that this is having a negative impact on her physical health. She claims that she has not received a proper food regimen, and that when she was provided with food, it was small, inadequate portions, and that she has lost 15 pounds since her incarceration. I want to point out that when Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, it was noted by almost everyone, and also I think it has been written about in mainstream media, that she was approximately 15 to 20 pounds over her normal weight. During the course of 16 months, Bobby Sternheim alleges that Ghislaine Maxwell has lost 15 pounds. Oh, okay, so she's back to her normal weight. Any woman would be happy to be back to their normal weight if she was 15 pounds heavier. But now they're portraying something in a negative light to elicit sympathy, and more than that, to try to get Ghislaine Maxwell released from jail, their sixth attempt, and to state that she is going to be too frail to attend her own court case. Okay, so let me keep going. Miss Maxwell's guards shine flashlights on the ceiling of her cell in 15-minute intervals and have done so every night she has been incarcerated. So they claim that because of this, she can't sleep. In another part of this letter, again dated November 3rd, it's a 7-page letter sent to Judge Nathan by Bobby Sternheim. She also contradicts herself because she says that when Ghislaine Maxwell was sitting in the federal courthouse for the pretrial hearing on November the 2nd, she was on the fourth floor, and the hearing was supposed to be held on the fifth floor, which it was, that Ghislaine Maxwell decided to take a nap, and that she fell asleep, and that she was rudely interrupted and woken up by one of the guards. I'm going to say something to you. I'm someone who has trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. I have never been able to take a nap on command. For Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to be sitting in a courthouse on the fourth floor, where the allegation is also that it was a very cold floor, that it made her suffer, that she was able to close her eyes and fall asleep, tells me that this woman, even if it were true that shining a light in her eyes every 15 minutes during the time that she is supposed to be sleeping, and it's for her protection because they want to make sure she doesn't kill herself, that nobody kills her, that she is alive, and this is a protocol that's in jail. For her to be able to then be able to take a nap at will, and she has 24 hours in the day, 18 of which are spent outside of her jail cell. Well, sorry, 16 of which are spent outside of her cell. It means to me that she could crawl back into her cell and fall asleep. And by the way, she is not like other prisoners. Other prisoners probably have to be shackled when they're in the dining room in order to have their meals. Not so for Ghislaine Maxwell. The only time that she is shackled is when she is being transported in the van to the courtroom, which is my understanding has only happened twice in 16 months. But this is a big deal for her. Okay, let's see what else is I'm looking through the document. So okay, here it goes. Miss Maxwell's ability to cope with the stress of her legal proceedings and to participate meaningfully in her defense have been gradually eroded over time due to the conditions of her confinement and are further exacerbated by ongoing sleep deprivation. The conditions of her confinement are seriously impacting her overall mental and physical health, which will continue to worsen over time if she remains incarcerated under the current conditions and subject to the regiment on trial, sleep deprivation, inadequate nutrition, exposure to cold temperature, daily humiliation. If she were released, her ongoing symptoms would be exacerbated. I mean, this. I don't. Let me see if she even understood what she wrote. If she were released, her ongoing symptoms, which will be exacerbated during trial, would likely resolve. Okay, got it. Completely, and she would be afforded the opportunity to properly prepare for her defense and the endure the rigor of each trial day. Miss Maxwell is not a flight risk. The government concedes she poses no risk to the community. She is a mature adult with no prior history of criminal or violent behavior. This disgusting. The whole world knows at this point that she was Jeffrey Epstein's number one procurer. The world knows at this point from court documents and mainly from Virginia Giuffre's very valiant depositions and testimony to the court that it was Ghislaine Maxwell who allegedly sexually abused her. So that, granted, she hasn't been charged before, but she is certainly charged now. And by the way, she's only being charged for a very short amount of time and for only 4 victims, not for the possibly thousands and thousands of people, children, minors, even boys, who were recruited, groomed, lured, and then savagely raped by not just Maxwell, but Epstein and their very high-powered friends. The people that we have seen surface in this case are shocking. Former President Bill Clinton, former President Donald Trump, Prince Andrew. I mean, it's pretty much a who's who of the politicians and world leaders and the high-powered businessmen of this world, like Leslie Wexner. We have Leon Black. We have Jess Staley. We have just really the most powerful people. We also have men who were not so powerful, who became powerful. Stephen Mnuchin is an example. If you sort of read my weekly Epstein Project newsletter, or if you've read my book, Jeffrey Epstein, Predator Spy, you will see that Stephen Mnuchin is connected to Jean-Luc Brunel and how he helped Jean-Luc Brunel. You will see that Jess Staley um, is one of the two people that Jeffrey Epstein put down as a referral when he was creating a bank, a private bank. He was creating a bank, um, kind of similar in nature to BCCI, which is the Bank of Criminals and Crooks. And it was a front for the CIA to sort of, funnel dirty money for dirty covert operations. So that we are looking at something that has never been seen before historically. And the way that I believe the court is going to be able to keep this from touching the intelligence angle, because I remind everyone all the time, Alexander Acosta, while investigating Jeffrey Epstein and while preparing a 53-page indictment against him, was told by his superiors to back off Jeffrey Epstein, to back off because Epstein belonged to intelligence. This week, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys were informed by Judge Nathan that they are not to bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein's non prosecution agreement. Because, on the one hand, that is what they have been requesting from day one, commencing July 14th of 2020. Her attorneys argued that Ghislaine Maxwell is covered by Jeffrey Epstein's non prosecution agreement. And they have brought it up many, many times since then. I would say at least a dozen times, claiming that Ghislaine Maxwell should be allowed out of jail, that this lawsuit, or it's not a lawsuit, it's a case brought against the United States government against Ghislaine Maxwell, that this should just be disappeared because she is protected by that non prosecution agreement. The judge has denied their request every time, but of importance to note is that if that door should be open, then that will sort of open, again, I'm going to use that term because it's the only one that's appropriate, open the door to the intelligence side of this operation, which is not in the government's best interest. So the court just said there can be no discussion at all during the case that is scheduled to commence on November 29th about Jeffrey Epstein's non prosecution agreement. And so it's my understanding that the reason they're doing that is so the intelligence aspect of this case is not brought out into the open. Anyway, I'm going to end it here. I don't want to make this too long, but I'd love to hear your comments about what's going on with the case. And, I'm going to stay on top of it as I have been for the last 2+ years. Again, it's Kirby Sommers for the Epstein Project podcast. Thank you. Bye.